Okay, we are live now. Hello, everyone. We are going to do the countdown and then we will be back.
I live in dead, I'll die indebted to your hope. Born again, I swear I wouldn't breathe a word. If you could find me, take me back and make me whole. We're a circus, ruin my body with your corpse. So can you help me
Hello, everybody. Well, 0 people, but you know.
I love your journal.
Trickling.
So cute.
Oh,
It's pretty.
yeah, it is. It's kind of getting beaten up a little bit here.
I love it.
Yeah, I still need to work on her little princess bunk bed, so I'm gonna probably eat and sketch that out.
Okay.
So, welcome to another Crafty Mess. Today's a special one. At the end of the month, we do a mukbang and murder. We're planning to do a Monday murder series pretty soon here with like guests and all that fun stuff. But today is just our boring old monthly murder mukbang. So we are going to be talking.
Yeah. To give us like a little bit of like lead time, like we're planning to have the first Monday murder. Well, I was thinking like also possibly a mukbang, but we'll see what time. That we're going to talk about, true crimes, because there's just so many of it that we want to cover, and like once a month doesn't seem to be enough. And I had no idea both of us were so into like true crimes until this unfolded. So yeah. So we do want to probably start like maybe June 7th, June 6th or 7th, I believe was the first Monday of June. So I'm not, but yeah, that's exciting. So it's coming.
It's unfortunate that there's so much to
Yes.
talk about. That's the
it is
sad
unfortunate.
reality. But we do want to kind of like give our 2 cents and stuff. But what is this? It's episode 17?
Yeah, 17. Sounds scary. Yeah.
So Katrina asked how we are doing today.
Hi,
Katrina. Oh, oopsie. She kind of disappeared.
So you can't see food, but it's I'm having chicken, like quote unquote chicken nuggets with seasoned fries, and I've been like kind of nibbling at it away.
Yeah, because like the KFC and the chicken stuff is kind of iconic for this story. And that's what Mel texted me, and I was like, that's awesome. And then like this morning I woke up and I was like, yeah, it is so morbid. I woke up, I was like, oh gosh, I feel so heavy. I don't know. Like I already had breakfast. I think we talked about this. Like by the time 10 a.m. comes around, I've had like a full meal. And so I'm just having watermelon.
I'll eat for you. It was also his last meal. Did you know that? I think that was his last meal.
That I didn't know until you told me, and I was like, that's really morbid. But those are like really crunchy fries.
Yeah, I love my air fryer. It's like amazing. I don't know why I lived this long without it, but it seriously makes everything crispy, and I don't have to use the oven, you know what I mean? Like, so and it takes like 14 minutes, 8 to 14 minutes, like,
little
done,
to no
crispy.
oil as well.
So sorry I'm crunching.
So it's just like frozen, and then you kind of just threw it all in the air fryer?
Oh, totally. Yep.
Oh, I thought you went to like a special like place to get it, because I was like, where am I gonna find fried chicken and waffles like this early in the morning that without having to wait in line for like 3 hours?
No, this was in my freezer.
Oh, really? Because there's a special place, the Breakfast Club here in Houston, that does really well, like fried chicken and waffles. But like the line for it's an hour and a half, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Plus, like at 10 o'clock, like or 9, 10 o'clock, it's probably not even open yet.
No, it's open. The line is already starting.
I know. Air fryer is like the best game changer. And apparently, air fryers can make bread.
Yeah. I made pancakes in them before, and it's so good.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It literally is like a game changer.
So totally
like,
changed my life.
And I feel like it's so little waste.
Mm-hmm.
You put just enough, So,
Mm-hmm.
so I guess we gotta go into disclaimers. This story definitely has unfolded, almost closed. There's still some loose ends, but it is our opinions.
Yes.
Whatever we've seen or read is definitely from other podcasts and other news sites and blogs and stuff. So obviously, take it with as you will. And these are our opinions. We want to kind of share our opinions. And hello, Miss Ashley. Miss Hello Sparkles.
Hi, Ashley.
I guess Mel can't really say don't bully.
Well, yeah. I mean, like whoever is involved in the story, we do talk about it, like definitely don't spread hate. We definitely want to have just a conversation of like the story that happened and like what's going on. Like sort of like the behind, like trying to figure out the behind the killer mindset. But we're obviously not psychiatrists or psychologists, so we're just giving our 2 cents and having and just spending this morning, afternoon with you guys. So fun.
Yeah. Also,
but we are going to be talking about like some gruesome details ish. So definitely protect yourself.
Yeah, trigger warning: child abuse, murder, sexual abuse. I guess domestic violence or emotional violence. So protect your boundaries and your health and well-being. And also, if you want to tell us what you're drinking or eating, that would be nice too.
Yeah. And if you have a fear of clowns, this is probably not the episode for you.
Yes. Okay, so who are we talking about, Mel?
What was his name? John
Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, John Wayne. I know. John Wayne Gacy. I have a phone on here, but I pulled up to see his like behind the story thing, but he is one messed up character. Luckily, no longer walking on this earth.
Yeah, unfortunately. I guess, do you want to go into his history or should I go into his history while you nibble?
I'm going to nibble.
Okay, of course. So we are talking about John Wayne Gacy, and I think I've heard about this story like maybe 2 years ago, and I don't even know how we came upon this topic. I just threw it out at Mel. I was just like, let's talk about the clown killer. So historically, I guess his dad was kind of like emotionally abusive. I didn't hear very much about the physical abuse as much, but I'm pretty sure it was there because, he grew up in the 50s and corporal punishment for children is it was pretty like, I guess, the norm. To the point where like the people that are around the children would also, I don't know if you've seen Mad Men where like if like a neighbor saw your kid do something bad, then like the neighbor would also like spank your kid for you kind of situation. Like it was just the 50s is how like children were raised, right? Which is unfortunate.
According to Murderpedia, John Wayne Gacy Sr., so he was named exactly, like I just don't understand sometimes about, people having the same names, but that's fine. He was an unpleasant, abusive alcoholic who's prone to physically and verbally assaulting his children. So, yes, so there were some abuse growing up. But for some reason, right, John Jr. is just so wanting his father's like love and attention, maybe because he was just craving that and he wasn't getting it.
Yeah, it's I guess like with like in child development, children are naturally, again, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but in child development, children are naturally always trying to seek that like attachment or that attention with your parents. And so like the first couple of years, like, it's crying, like I'm crying. So therefore I get my milk. I cry because I need a hug, or I cry because I'm sleepy. And then, in the toddler years, it's the same thing, but they could communicate a little bit more, but they'll probably like throw tantrums, and it's a way to get attention, but not in a manipulative way. It's more like, I need love and emotion. And the thing is, like, there is a certain like sad gap in our in our history where children were not seen as like these little beings that need emotional care, right? They were kind of seen as like miniature adults. Like, you need to act on your best behavior, you need to sit still and stuff. And so it's almost like a predictor of how someone's going to grow up just by seeing how their parents treat them when it comes to like attachment, right? So for John Wayne Jr., he was always trying to be clean cut, always trying to be the best man, the best father, all these things, so that his father can finally say, I am proud of you, even though his father was always like, you're such a weird kid, you're a loser, you're not going to amount to anything. But then, like, when he does do something that is a little bit good, or something that his dad could be proud of, then his dad would be like, oh, you did a good job. And it fuels the kid to be like, okay, well, then I'm going to keep trying to do better and achieve more things, because then that's how I get love, right, from my father. But the problem with that is that they'll do all those things, which is very surface level, but underneath they still feel that emotional pain, because they're not feeling like, oh, well, what if I mess up? Is he still going to love me? So there's that like conflict there. And I mean, like, I would say, like, I sometimes go through that too, like, especially being Asian American. Like, you always think, if I get straight A's, then my parents will love me. Well, if I get an F and I disappoint my parents, does that mean that they don't love me? Because that was never communicated, right? It was never communicated that I will still love you even if you get an F. I will be disappointed, but if you get an A, like, I'm always so proud of you and stuff. So there's always that like confusion, right?
And that's funny, because me growing up in, I want to say, like, an abusive family, because like I've never had that craving. I mean, I don't know if it's like a gender thing, but I never crave. I don't know if I never, or I just didn't learn to like really have that type of like craving for that love from parents, because they've never really loved us in the traditional way. It's more about the acts of service that I liken that to love, and that's like one of the love languages. And if I did something bad, like I never tried to like go for their approval. Like, if I did something bad, they're gonna punish me. If I get a bad grade, like I'll get kicked in the ass, literally kicked in the ass. That's what my dad did. And so like, so it's different, and I guess it's hard for me to. Maybe there are just certain types of personalities up there that like they're like the people pleaser, or they're like another type that always trying to strive for something. So I don't know if that has something to do with him. Maybe he's always been one, and maybe that's why he went into the clown business, because he wanted to please people, please like kids and stuff like that, and also a way to lure kids, probably.
And it's not just the people pleaser thing. It's the wanting to be liked, right? Like, so I kind of understand Gacy, because I'm not saying I like have the same personality type as him, but I do have that people pleasing, wanting to be liked personality type, which is like really hard to fix, because when you don't feel liked, then you don't feel worthy, and then when you don't feel worthy, then you feel empty inside, right? So like, I'm pretty sure he, on top of that feeling, and then with his sexuality, because I guess like his father kind of had an idea that he might have been gay when he was younger, and would always like chastise him or make fun of him or put him down, or like make him feel like less of a man, because he was of the LGBT community. On top of that, it was like he also had a type of he got hit in the head really hard with a set of swings, and it created a blood clot in his head or something, and then he ended up with like some some kind of illness. And so when he grew up, he was always considered like a weak, sickly boy. And, you know, like in the 50s, you're supposed to be kind of like that tough man, not always getting ill. And so he was always berated by his father, you know, having a chronic illness, being part of the LGBT community. And then obviously not being loved by his father on top of that. Like, it's just like the cocked, and I'm not saying that like everyone who goes through this end up being like murderers, right? Like, this is probably the 0.0001% that this happens to, but like, it was a cocktail of just pain for him, you know. And
did you watch Bridgerton?
No.
You should probably watch it. It's actually pretty good show on Netflix. But one of the what was his name? I forgot. But like he grew up not having his dad's attention because he had like a stutter. He didn't speak for the longest time. So then his dad was pretty much wrote him off as a young boy, you know. So he's always growing up trying to get his dad's affection or attention. Eventually he just gave up. But yeah, he didn't grow up to be a killer. Oh, he was I think the Duke of Hastings. So but he made a vow to never sire kids because he didn't want his name to go down the same path as his dad's, like to carry his dad's name, you know. So I mean, that's unfortunate. Like, yeah, like you said with him, like, you know, he's always wanting to oh, I just lost my train of thought.
Always want to please and to be liked, and then like when you keep doing it and you don't get there, what then your other option is
Duke
to
of Hastings. Yeah, and that's what most I feel most kids naturally will want to rebel against their parents at some point in their life, you know. Like for me, I rebelled against my parents because I didn't believe on a certain standards that they have for me, you know, like not like getting beaten because I cut my hair like this short because my mom had some sort of thing about it. I have no idea. It was the first time I ran away from home. But like, what's the point? Like, no. Anyways, back to John Gacy.
This is not Mel's therapy session.
Right? Back to John Gacy. So,
but like, I mean, it all goes back to like, you know, treat your kids well. Like, listen to your kids. You know,
a lot of these true crimes, like a lot of these like serial killers, they, you know, sometimes I try to listen to see if there are actually serial killers that maybe like didn't have a bad childhood growing up, but a lot of them do. Like that's where it got stemmed from. But man, as soon as you see your kid like torture some animals, you better get them help.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. Like, now that I think about it, like, I actually never made that correlation where any of them not have a bad childhood. If you think about anyone who goes through that, most likely have had some kind of trauma, right? And so if someone who did have a normal, perfect, pretty steady family dynamic and then grow up to still do that kind of stuff, then they're the true definition of a psychopath, right? But even still, like, you know, those who are psychopaths might not murder. They will probably just get into a type of career that will allow them to express that in a way that doesn't harm other people. But I mean, it's really sad. And I'm so glad that we're in like a world now that we're getting more into like child development and psychology and you know, there's more what's the word, knowledge and education about raising children.
Yes, and also like just the proponent of like getting, you know, therapy for kids. Like therapy is not something that is poo-poo on anymore. You know what I mean? Like people don't see it as like something seriously wrong with you. Like, no, it's just everybody should like have something like this, you know what I mean? Like have someone to talk to and walk them through like little just whatever issues they have like during each stage of their life. Some people just can't handle, you know, a lot of like the big changes in life and just need someone to help walk them through it, you know. And it's always helpful to have a third party to get like another perspective, right?
Yeah. You know
So
what's interesting is that like when I first started therapy on my own, like I thought, okay, what is wrong with me that I have to pay someone that to talk to, right? Why can't I just tell
mhm,
my friend these things, or why can't I tell my parents these things? Obviously because they're completely biased. They're always going to take my side on how
yep.
talk about the narrative of my life, right? Um, Now that I'm, much later on into like this whole therapy journey, it's more like a therapist is not there to listen to you vent, but they're kind of there to help you figure out how to do life with the personality type that you have, right?
Mhm,
So it's just like when you grow up,
mhm,
your parents don't know what your personality type is. Your parents don't really know what is going to trigger you or make you happy or whatever, and how to help that environment mold around that. But a therapist can show you how to use those skills in a way that
mhm.
is positive for your life, right?
And
And it,
also like, like there's a lot of new parents who have no idea how to navigate certain stages of a kid's life,
yes,
like, and that's why you have like other third caretakers to help with that. So I mean,
yes,
yeah, like parents shouldn't feel as if they shouldn't feel as if they're like less than or incompetent of raising a
yes,
child. It takes a village to
yes.
raise a child. So so totally like they should seek help when they can. So but yeah, with John Gacy, he obviously didn't go to therapy. This was probably
Hmm.
back in like, what is it, like in the 60s, right?
Yes.
1950s, 60s. So he didn't have that. But early on, apparently he was like a born salesman. He can pretty much like charm anybody's pants off. Like he can talk his way in and out of situations. So naturally he would, go into that sort of business. But prior to that, do you remember when you heard this? And I remember like either listening to it, but he worked as a mortuary, like a cleaning person, a janitor at a mortuary.
Yes.
Do you want to tell? Do you remember what it was and what you want to? Do you want to say
Didn't
what
he like?
happened?
Yeah, I heard this. I was just like, what? Okay,
What?
if I was the supervisor at this place and like in the middle of the night, I was just kind of like doing my rounds, and I see this kid who climbs in and sleeps at night in the where they do the embalming and stuff, I would be like, that
It's
kid,
a sick
it's a
child.
red flag, right? Like
Oh
I
yeah, like like I think he could possibly have done like sexual things to the dead
yeah,
corpse,
we
which
we
is
wouldn't
totally.
know.
No, we wouldn't know, but I believe that was like alleged or something like that. But he even like scared himself. Like he even like kind of said like, "Oh my God, like what am I doing?" So he quit that job, and then he
Mhm.
moved back with his parents or with his mom. He always had a good relationship with his mom, which is why I don't understand again why like I guess just some people, yeah, have that need to have that father figure in their life. But his mom, I'm sure, was like very loving to him, you know what I mean? So it's just like it's unfortunate that his dad was like just so abusive.
Well,
um
this is so I was just not watching, but I was listening to another podcast talking about Ted Bundy. And Ted Bundy
mm,
mentioned that like I had a really great relationship with my mom and stuff.
mm-hmm.
But then later on, when he would date his girlfriends or something, he would say, "Oh, wow, you guys have such a loving family. Like I never had that growing up." So it's like, how can you have a loving relationship with your mom, but then also go to your girlfriend like I
True,
never had that growing up, right? So
true.
basically,
Because
what
there's
they're
still
they're
he was still missing something. He was
yeah.
still
So what they're
missing. Yeah.
Well, no, what they were alluding to is that like people who are in the position of like really bad abuse will sometimes create like a third persona, like when they
Oh.
speak about their family and stuff, they always try to paint it as like, oh, that's just something weird that my mom and dad did, ha 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 ha, but it's all loving and they're great and they're wonderful. But like if you really looked at it, then it would be kind of like, wait, there's some abusive nature and tendencies here. It's almost akin to like, sometimes when your relationship isn't like your partner relationship isn't going really well, but like you'll still try to paint it as like it's going really, really well. But deep down when you're home with your partner and you're
Hmm.
like, there's I'm kind of
It's a different
unhappy.
story.
It's a
Yeah.
different story. So same with like children and parent dynamic too. So we don't know if like his relationship with his mom is really that great because we're only hearing it from him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but that's what Ted Bundy is, his historical background with his mom is, but I mean there I'm what they have like kind of gauges that she probably is abusive on some level only because she had her own trauma as well.
Yeah.
So with Gacy, there could be a chance that he might have had his own trauma with his mom, and then on top of that, his father too. Because there's no way. Because what it was the father senior would be an alcoholic and come home, it would just be in like a violent rage. And so we don't know if the father takes it out on the mother too, and then the mother might just be emotionally disconnected from the children, which also affects kids as well. So but
it's such a sad anyways, it's such a sad life, like growing up not having the love of your parents, you know what I mean? So love your children, treat them well, you know what I mean? Because they're still very impressionable and they're still developing. So anyway, so Gacy, because he's such a charmer, he looking, and that's a lot of serial killers, like they usually have high IQs, right? And they're also very smart to like emulate another person, like how they behave normally in life. So like when you look at John Gacy, like he is a normal, typical guy. Nobody ever expected him to be a killer because he was just a charming person. And even on his like leisure time, he would dress up as a clown and entertain kids and go to like hospitals and like things like that. And back then, like clowns were not scary. It wasn't until like, they were beloved. It wasn't until like probably Stephen King or something like that turned it into more scary, story. But
isn't Stephen King, wasn't he inspired by Gacy? That's how he came up with the Pennywise character? Okay.
Yeah. That is totally true. So he was inspired by him, so Gacy became known as, the killer clown because he would dress as a clown. I don't think he would dress as a clown to kill these, but I'm pretty sure that back then they would see clowns as being very non-threatening, so that's probably how he was able to lure a lot of like young men, like they're probably in their teens, like 15s, 16-year-olds, into his house where he would do a lot of his killings. He would strangle them and then and then stuff them in a crawl space. What is a crawl space? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, so okay.
Everyone talks about crawl space, but I have no idea what that is.
I guess it just depends. Like there's an attic crawl space. It's just like a little space that like you can crawl through that connects to other parts the home.
So a tunnel.
Like a tunnel, yeah, but it could probably be for like HVAC systems or electrical systems or whatever. Some of them would be like a little space that's like around the basement. I don't know how to explain it, but so
okay.
So it's just like a little, yeah. Like it's a little space.
He would stuff them in there.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, I think you said that his wife wasn't like around or whatever, but you would think that you would go into a home and you would smell decaying corpse, that something could be up, right? Because he had at least 28 apparently in his house alone. And his crawl space got filled up so quickly that he like dumped the rest of the bodies in a lake somewhere. So space under the stairs or the attic or even under the house. Jeez. So like that's where all the bodies went into. But yeah, I don't know if this is the episode that you wanted to talk about this, but the smell of like flesh, like you think that people would know what that smell like, right?
Oh yeah, I was I was telling Mel, I think when we were listening, I don't know how the conversation started, but I was telling her, I was just like, how would anyone living there not know that there's a
Yeah.
dead body there, because like the scent of a dead person is very like, very very unique.
Distinct.
And I was just like, yeah,
And
distinct.
I was like, how do you know? What, like, was this in biology class? Like, how do you know this, KL? And she was like, oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
this story.
Yeah. So I know what a dead person smells like, and it is the kind of smell where, like, if I smelled it, I could tell you right away, like, there's a dead person in this area. Like, that is how distinct it is from any smell. And it doesn't smell like, when you think about it, like, it doesn't smell like rotten sewage or anything. Like, you hear about it and you're like, oh, that it might smell like rotten sewage. It doesn't. It has a sweetness to it, and it's very bizarre. And the only reason why I know this is, I don't know if I told this story anywhere before, but I can't believe I never told Mel. But
I know.
a couple of years back, I lived in an apartment, and my next door neighbor committed suicide, and he was in there for about 7 days, and it was a very gory scene. So he was in there for about 7 days, and by day 7 they found him. And I went to class, and I came back, and I saw that whole area was like caution taped around. And of course, like, I asked the cops, I was like, oh, I hope he's okay, because I thought, because she was a trans woman. And the cop was like, well, because I thought, because I had an idea that she had some health conditions, and I think once she mentioned that it was like a heart thing, and I was hoping that she was okay. And I asked the cop, I was like, I hope she's okay. And the cop was like, oh yeah, she herself. And I was like, why would you say that? Like, why would you just so nonchalantly like divulge that information? So wrong on the cop. So I knew about it, and so then and like about day 5 is when I started to smell this weird scent coming from the house, the next door, because we shared the same wall. And it was distinct. Like, it was just, I can't even describe it. It doesn't smell like blood. It smelled like you knew that it would be flesh, but you wouldn't be sure. It's hard to describe. Like, I've never smelled anything like it before. There's things that can mimic other smells, but that is like ingrained in my head. And so
if
anyway,
anyone needs, to like find a body, KL would volunteer.
Like a hound dog of a nose right now.
She has a hound dog of a nose that she can spot.
Like if we were to go to an Airbnb or a hotel, and if I can smell it, like literally, it is so distinct that
we are switching.
Bleach. Yeah, if it's covered in bleach, I can still smell it. I'll be like, nope, we're out of here. Like, something happened here. Yeah, it is. And even when they ripped out the carpet a couple of days later, I made the mistake of looking in, because they had the door wide open, and it was just all over the living room. Like, it was just so, the whole thing was so sad. And it was probably, I think I must have blocked it out of my brain or something, because I didn't realize it until we started talking about the John Wayne Gacy stuff. And I was like, yeah, this one's coming back. And now I can't stop. Now that we're talking about the smell again, it's like coming back to me, and I'm like, wow. I feel like an incense or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy how the body can like remember, like you could, if you hear a song, it takes you back to that memory. It's just something that's burned into your mind already. You know what I mean? So like, that is it's wild, crazy.
Yeah, it's I don't know how people who are in the military, like,
oh, I know, like the PTSD, and they just trauma, they have to deal with it,
Yeah.
So let's see. So anyways, I think one day the investigators like wanted to seize a warrant to search his home, and his home was found with like 20-some bodies like dug in the crawl space under the house, and then in the lake that he told them. They did say that as soon as the investigator entered a crawl space located beneath the home, a rancid odor was quickly noticed. The smell was believed to be faulty sewage lines and was quickly dismissed. So the first time they went in there, they didn't think anything of it. I think it was another time that they eventually went and definitely searched thoroughly. It says one of the rings found at Gacy's house belonged to another teenager who had disappeared a year earlier. It's just so sad. Like all these teen boys. So he was finally convicted, and he was brought to jail. His trial began, and he was obviously convicted and like sentenced to the death penalty. His last meal he asked for was what was it? It was fried chicken. It was like crazy. Fried chicken, French fries, Coke, and strawberry shortcake. But this person was not one, like he just does not have any type of guilt surrounding his killings. Like even his last words were, what did he say, KL?
Oh, I don't remember.
He said,
No, you go. I might get it wrong.
He said, "Kiss my ass."
No way.
Like seriously, those were his last words.
Are you
That
serious?
is one, yeah. And remember, we had talked about the death penalty, and it has to be one, like it has to be one of like undeniably guilty to a fault.
Yeah.
Because people like him cannot roam the earth. Like we are just not safe when they're around. And I am a proponent for death penalty when it comes to that. Like it has to be beyond a shadow of a doubt, like beyond. Like evidence piled up, like bodies. So
I don't know if you heard this bit where with his first wife, he started a stag club where it's just like a bunch of dudes hanging out, and one of the kids
he did.
Yeah, it was just like, have you heard of stag clubs and stuff where just like guys kind of get together, they like
that's crazy
or whatever, right? And so he started a stag club, and but it was like one of those kind of like parties where they would hire a lot of prostitutes, and it was just a lot of drinking and hanging out. But one of the sons of the guy at that club was 15 or 16 at the time. Well, he had that kid, his last name is Voorhees. He had that kid come to his house, went to the basement, he showed him a lot of porn, got him really drunk, had him do like sexual things with him. And then he basically was like, hey, you can't tell anyone, or I am going to hold this against you, and kind of like pretty much blackmailed him. And so the kid never said anything. And then a couple of weeks later, the kid finally did say something, and he got charged with molestation and went to jail for he was supposed to go to jail for 18 years, but he only had to serve 5% of that time. So
it's of his charming self. He could like easily just, try to be the model citizen in jail so he could get out. But what happened was, and he was a lucky boy, because he did something where like John Gacy would either put handcuffs on him. Like that was his game. It was just like, you don't know how to get out of these what is the trick to get out of these handcuffs? He'll put it on them, and it's like the trick is the key, right? This boy somehow managed to get out of the handcuffs. Like either John just forgot the keys or something like that. He grabbed the keys.
Was this Voorhees or was this the roommate after?
Oh, I don't know.
Because he had a roommate after too that was the case. I don't think it's the Voorhees kid. Yeah,
okay. Well, one of the boys. Yeah, he only had one survivor, I thought.
Well, so the Voorhees kid wasn't when the killing started. It was just when his homosexuality started to kick in. Now the kid with the handcuff, he actually lived with him at the time and was trying to rape him multiple times with the handcuff trick. So
he did that trick to like several kids, and that's how he got them to come to his to stay in with his home. But the kid was able to get out the handcuffs, and then when John Gacy came by, like he was able to put the handcuffs on John. So at that point, John said, if you let me out of these handcuffs, I will let you go. You're the only one that was ever able to get out of these handcuffs, which he didn't know. The boy didn't know at the time what that meant. So unfortunately, he has done that. John Gacy, Wayne Gacy has done that to plenty of boys who were never able to get out of those handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's such a sad story and messed up to a point. Like,
Well, I guess if we had to backtrack to the whole Voorhees thing, like he was supposed to go to jail for whatever amount, but he got out because he was a model like prisoner and he was up for probation. So when he was in probation, he went to Iowa, and obviously he tried to rape another boy. But because jurisdiction wise, Iowa and like Chicago weren't talking to each other, so they didn't know that he was on probation. Because had they known, they would have locked him right back up, and he wouldn't be going on that killing spree. So we're really lucky now that cities and towns and states kind of like communicate with each other. Same with Ted Bundy, like he killed a bunch of people in Seattle and in Colorado and in Florida, and people are like, oh, we had our own special state serial killer, when really it's just one dude traveling, so it's the same.
And there's
with
there's
Gacy,
plenty of plenty of serial killers out there who would travel like truck, like if they have a truck, they'll just truckers, they'll drive to city, dumping bodies left and right. But yeah, so I am glad. Unfortunately, it took plenty of years for cities and counties to talk to each other, because before that it was their own little town, and they just worry about the crimes within their own little cities. So but it's unfortunate that that's the case with him,
Yeah, I mean, had he gotten caught in Iowa, for trying to rape that other kid, then he would have just gone back in jail, because that's part of his probation, that he wasn't supposed to do anything while he's out. And and the fact that that was not communicated, that he was able to buy another home and move on with and build a really successful construction or building business, I think, manufacturing business, and lure boys to this job. And then it's just. And then
he even had both, I think, he married twice, right? And both of them divorced him for certain things afterwards. His first wife was the one that he had 2 kids with, but they, after all that unfolded and whatnot, they've changed their names. They don't even the house that he had all the bodies in were demolished after a certain amount of years. And I think did you mention that another house was built upon it, and that was sold? We do not want to stay in that near that location, because I just feel it's bad juju for sure. No. No.
So his first wife divorced him after she found out about the Voorhees things, because he went to prison.
Yeah.
Then he got out, and he got married again. And then while he was married to the second lady, he said, he is bisexual, and and so they kind of live like a polyamory kind of situation, where he would have boys come over in the garage. And then after that, she was just like, this is too much for me. So she divorced him. And then I think he was single for a little bit, and it was just when you're single and you don't have a family or a face to keep up, I think that's when it's kind of I'm just gonna let it all loose kind of situation.
Well, and he told her too, I think at one point in his latest time, sexy time with her, he was just this is the last time I'm doing this. I am, I don't know why he would say he's bisexual, because if that's the case, he could be just gay at that point, because he didn't touch her after that at all. And that's where they lack the intimacy and detachment, and eventually led to divorce. So I would say he was probably gay just all along, and getting married. Sure. Getting married was just a pretense. Unfortunately, back then, that was most of the case, was a disguise, just like his clown costume. He wore a disguise to not show his true self.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so sad. We are, you know, when we're talking about this story, we're kind of just like talking at more discussion wise. Like, if you really want to dive deep into, you know, there are like dive deep into a story, there are definitely plenty of podcast crime, like, you know, podcasters out there that are so detailed over this. But I think it's definitely, when you told me about this case, I was just like, no, 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 no. I don't want to talk about clowns, you know, like, it's just because I was thinking about, you know, Penny and the, you know, the clown, like,
Pennywise, yeah.
like I didn't, you know, I don't want to have that in my mind. But I definitely, once I listened to it, it was like, oh my God.
Well, you know the whole handcuff thing that you were saying, that the handcuff trick. So
Mm-hmm.
apparently, while Gacy was going through his crime spree, Dean Coral here in Houston was going through his as well, and he had the same
Wow.
MO as Gacy with the handcuffs, the young boys, handcuffing to like a wood board that Gacy did as well, and I think Dean did it a little bit first, so I think Gacy kind of heard about it and copycat some
Uh,
of the details. Not sure how
uh,
true that is, but like it was happening
interesting.
almost at the same time. And but like, you know, John Wayne Gacy is the clown killer, which, you know, just was a thing, clowns, kid friendly. And Dean Coral is like the candy man because he sells candy in the neighborhood here. So
Mm.
it's like,
And it's funny because the way he would draw on, like, he didn't draw on the clown just like a friendly clown. He actually draws on the clown like a very menacing type of clown. And back then, again, clowns were not eerie, you know, it wasn't spooky, so they didn't think anything of it. But I don't know, like, when I look at a scary clown, like, I'll be just like, what the F, man? Like, why are you
well,
here entertaining, like, you know, in a hospital and with kids around? It's like, it's scary.
well, here's another thing though. Do you remember the clown sightings in 2016 that was happening all over the South? You don't remember
No,
that story? It was such a like in
I
2016,
don't.
people were
I don't really listen. Yeah, I don't really
randomly
like.
seeing clowns all over the place.
Is that
And
when was that when the movie came out?
oh, huh.
Is that
Is it
it? Could have been a. It could have been a promotional piece.
no, no, it wasn't. It wasn't
Oh,
promotional. It was an actual thing where people were like seeing
that's
like creepy
crazy.
clown sightings. And then what happens is that when that got into the news, more copycats came out. More people were like, ah, ha, ha, I'm going to dress up as clowns, you know? But the first initial ones were kind of like just random out of nowhere. And I don't think it had anything to do with the new It
Oh,
movie
okay.
that was coming out. It was literally two different separate instances. But I got to see. So the It movie, okay, so the new one came out in 2017. The sighting started in 2016. So maybe it might have been a promotional thing, but but even the producers of that were like saying, "No, this is not us in the making. It was something completely separate. Like kids were seeing these random clowns walking in the forest or something."
Ugh,
And this
that
yeah,
is
so
so creepy. So, like, the word fear of clowns is actually called chorophobia.
which is so
So
weird. A fear of
it
corals.
it's a yeah, no, it's spelled Coul. So, but it's pronounced chorophobia, and people definitely have, like, it's a debilitating fear that when they see a clown, they're like shaking in their boots and they're like running away. I have it's like a fear of like multiples. I forgot what they're called again,
Yeah,
but
like
I
circles or whatever.
tri-
Trip, trip.
trypophobia.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fear of clusters, small, like, you know, like little clusters of ants or little clusters of like bubbles. Like, I can't look at, when I wash my hands, I can't look at the bubbles straight on. Otherwise,
Really?
I if I focus on it, it would like creep me out. But
No.
for some reason, yeah, but for some reason, either I'm getting a little bit better or I'm just kind of getting like open minded. But you know, we have cicadas going on in the Maryland, DC area, and like they're like everywhere. But I'm not as frightened of them. Like when I see clusters of them, I even help them when, like, you know, you see them like on the ground, like on their back and trying to get up, and I would just like pick them up and move them to the grass because I don't want people just to step on them, even though I know they're on their dying stage. But yeah, like, or like clusters of bees, like I'm not I don't know, I can watch it without being fearful of it. So
I thought the tryptophobia was more of like clusters of irregular circles. So like
no,
bubbles
it
would make
says
sense.
yeah, it says bumps or just something.
Oh,
So
okay.
those things were definitely yeah, it's trypophobia. So yeah, the fear of clowns is very real.
Yeah, I mean, like when I think about like irregular like circles and stuff, like I mean, it's giving me goosebumps right now because I think of
Yeah.
like
Oh
hives,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
why it makes me
yeah,
itchy thinking about it, and so it's making my head itch
yeah.
right now. Um, Yeah, no,
Okay.
literally,
Good
like I
thoughts,
have
good thoughts.
goosebumps thinking, but I know I don't have a fear of it. I just know that it
Mm,
kind of like it triggers a
it
sense,
does
right?
trigger.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's not
Yeah.
like a fear where I have to run away because I'm fine with it. It's just a sense
Yeah,
thing,
like
which
people
our
I know I
brains,
right, like the mind can really take control of your actions so much so. Like, my ex-husband had a fear of heights. And I
mm,
didn't. So like he wouldn't go, to like we went to the Grand Canyon, he wouldn't go too far, out there. But it was definitely one that I feel like people when they have these type of fears is it's so true is that you have to overcome it by like actually going through it, right? And
yeah,
it will like let you know it's like, oh, this is okay, this is actually not too bad, like I'm okay, like nothing bad is happening. But it's definitely a fear that, like, I mean, I don't know, like all things, you can be fearful of something, but once you like kind of dissect it and find out the things behind it, such as when you go to therapy, I'm sure that that would be
mhm.
helpful. It'll like help you alleviate that and it won't be like crippling.
Yeah. See, Ashley says the clowns they would stand on people's porches for like 30 minutes or so, just standing there. Ashley,
Ew.
so Ashley is in Arkansas, and I want to know, like, did you
That's
see
so
any of them?
creepy.
Because I'm in Texas, and I don't remember seeing or hearing stories about it in Texas. And then Katrina, she's also in the South too, so I'm wondering if she heard any sightings in her area. Because I think it was more like Louisiana, maybe.
That
Um,
is creepy. 30 minutes? Who the
ooh,
F has the
ooh,
time for that? Oh my God. Like I will be so creeped out. Oh,
right? And then, okay,
yeah.
here's another thing too. When I heard of it, I was just like, I do know for a fact that the South is like super humid. So how can you be in that much makeup
Hmm.
outside in the humidity? Yeah, Katrina, a few years ago, yeah, in 2016, there was like random clown sightings everywhere. So I'm wondering if you saw anything in your area. And then Ashley is saying, no, we heard about it, but it wasn't here. Okay, because I heard about it too, and
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything in Texas. We started hearing about it more in Texas after the first sightings, right? When it started making the news, and everyone's just like, oh, well, now I'm going to do it too to be like a meme or creepy or whatever. And then you see more and
Well,
more of them.
probably the one of the reasons why I didn't really know about the stories because I avoid all things clowns. I don't have a fear for clowns like chorophobia. Like I don't have that. It's just that clowns are creepy. Like I just can't like that's gross, right? Like that's weird. Ugh, it would just creep me out. So no, I didn't click on the story, I'm sure, because I didn't want to know about it.
Yeah, I think I just only heard it like through like Phil DeFranco or something, and it was
Oh,
just
I
so
see.
random. Yeah, and I didn't delve too deep into it because it was creepy. Like I was like, well, I would
Ew.
rather just know, just walk by and see, oh, there's a clown there, and then like back off slowly than to know the full story, you know.
Right.
But and then the Joker came out, which is the new movie with
Oh yeah.
Joaquin. So good. I've seen it like twice already. So such a good
They
movie.
say it was well, the cicadas are very harmless. Like they just wanna the one thing they all wanna do is mate. They just wanna have sex and go on and die and like, and their
Have you had
mating
fried
calls.
cicadas before?
Nope. I actually when I was walking the other day, I saw a bunch of like I think it was at their home, but they were out there in like holding a little bag and like picking up cicadas from the grass because I think they were going to fry it up or do some kind of like
Yeah.
delicacies with them. And not for them. It's just not for me. I'm not I nope, I can't eat bugs. I can't eat like I'm not gonna eat that. I'm not gonna eat
If
animals.
you
Like
don't know, it's like
I
a
know.
mushy nut.
Great, KL. Like I really honestly didn't even need to hear the description. Like it's just not appetizing. No.
Yeah, you don't know. It's like a
Yeah,
mushy
no.
nut. I wouldn't say that I would like. It's not something I would like. Be like, let's go get some fried cicadas. But I've had it before, so it's lots of protein.
They did not chase your husband. That's funny. Cicadas are so. Oh, yeah, no. Like the other stuff, like yeah, definitely roaches, maggots, and flies. Those are disgusting. But cicadas are nice because honestly, like I hear them. The brood X is supposed to be the one that comes out every 17 years, and they are like in the massive. But every year I do hear. I feel like I hear them, and it's because they have some that come out, annually. But they always reminded me of summer.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know. I just try not to step on them.
Here.
Yeah, and
like
there's definitely a lot. There's a
loud.
lot of them. Yeah, they're mating calls.
Yeah,
I was like,
so
someone's getting on.
It's like, yeah, I go get my boombox out, and I'm like, wow,
That's right. They need that little like music.
Yeah,
to get it on.
Like,
get it on.
Some toys and some like lube. I just set on the porch for them, and I back off.
Oh my god. Yeah. Poor guy. So I mean, I don't know if this is funny, but like most of the cicadas you see on the floor are the males. So you're gonna be stepping on them. But once they mate, they just like fall down and they die. Like their lifespan is so short. And I learned on TikTok, it's funny, but the reason why they are in the massive millions and billions is because they have no defense mechanism. They literally like come out in like the billions, so that other other predators would just take them and eat them and everything, but they still have a lot of them that they can still they can still breed and like go on to the underground for another 17 more years and come back up again and torment humans. Oh, the sight of them. Yeah. Right. So
okay, we lived in Paris at the time, and they would sit outside the door at night. He went down to smoke at the time, and chased him down the stairs of the porch.
That's hilarious.
I did too. Well,
I had one land on me like when I was sitting under a bench. I had one land on me. I didn't know what it was, and I kind of swept it off, and it fell to the ground. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry!" And I went and picked up the stick to like move it to the grass. But they're harmless. Like once I just wrapped my head. Yeah, like once I had wrapped my head around them and just like why do they come in like so many, like it was nice to kind of just learn the history of it. And I love summer, so for me it was like it just reminds me of summer. But like when there were so many of them, like at one point I can't even hear them now, but I thought they sounded like sirens. It wasn't like the normal like like buzzing or whatever sound, but it just sounds like sirens.
Yeah, or like a fan. They kind
of a whirring. It's like a whirring sound.
Like the AC is turning on or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounds like to me. That's so weird. I haven't heard anything so far, so maybe we're not quite there yet.
Do you have the? Do you get them?
Yeah, we get them.
They're concentrated. And they said that they're concentrated in the like. Region area. I don't know if it's along the East Coast, but they do. But brood X is out and until next month. So
well, maybe at my parents I might hear them more because I live near a bat colony. Because you've seen the bat colonies, and they tend to eat up all the bugs too. Yeah. So
oh my gosh, we went to a garden nearby us, and like we saw a chipmunk. It was like in the rose bush, and we saw a chipmunk literally like I didn't realize, but the cicadas also like they stay on bushes, like they're just like a small bush, and a little chipmunk was right there just like plucking it from the like the stems or the sticks and just eating it like a cicada buffet. It was so cute. So he had a little buffet of his own, literally just standing there, and like after he finished one, he just went like a little apple. Yeah, no, totally. It was so cute. It was the cutest nature thing I saw this year.
So bizarre. He probably literally thought it was a walnut and was like, this is
No,
different.
he just kept going. Now I'm sure he knows what it was. He was like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh yeah. That's hilarious. Your husband rolled down the window. Oh, listen to that. He like cicadas. He freaked out, rolled out the window so fast. Oh man, he had PTSD. Morbid, I love it. The cicada buffet. They are harmless.
But they're
Any
really pretty too.
poodle.
They have that like oil iridescent look to them.
Oh, have you ever actually seen like a cicada that can't come that like molted? They're like white, and I didn't. Yeah, and I didn't realize they were like that, but I saw a few on the ground, and I like took a photo of it, and I thought that an albino cicada, but it wasn't. It was because they just were born.
Yeah, it was just a regular cicada.
It was completely white with like red eyes, so it was it just looked like an albino cicada. But it was I thought that was pretty. Enough of cicadas and clowns.
Yeah, and
we're at
our 1 hour mark because we're gonna wrap up because Mel has hot girl stuff to do. I got mental health stuff to do.
You got nice, healthy mental health stuff to do.
Yeah, trying to be healthy minded people so we don't end up being killers of things. Of stuff.
Just want to reiterate that we will never ever be killers because we can never stomach this stuff. Like it's just no. I mean, it's funny because I listen to the podcast. Watching it is a whole nother thing. You can't watch it.
I think it's funny because like every time we talk about it, like I think my conclusion is Mel would never ever murder anyone because like she's just like too kind of a person. I would never because I'm like type A and hate the cleanup. Like it's just two different reasons why we wouldn't do it. It's just like it's just too messy.
Okay, I'm sure that gives you PT. I'm sure that'll give you PTSD. If
totally.
But I don't think that's part of it. I mean, sure it's one part. It's not the whole part.
It would probably be like the 75%. Like if I were to ever do anything like that, I'd be like, okay, how do I disinfect this as much as possible? There's no way.
You could be the type A part where it's like Dexter, where he is like meticulous in putting up all the coverings, so he doesn't get one drop of blood.
No, I feel bad.
Yes, I know. So you have empathy.
No. It's the plastic. I'm like, oh my gosh, the environment. All this plastic. No, I'm kidding. No. I wouldn't. No.
You wouldn't. This was fun, guys.
Gonna be like,
are you okay? No, I had to check in. I had to check in with her because sometimes I never know if she's actually joking or she's more serious. Like, gotta check in with her. Mental health check.
No, I'm serious. I would not murder anyone just because of the cold cleaning. No. The whole act of it is just too much for me.
Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know if we're gonna do like the monthly mukbang, if we're gonna do like either the bi-weekly or the semi-weekly or the weekly one, but we'll see. The one that's coming up on June 6th or 7th, whatever that Monday is, it won't be live stream, just to give us some less pressure. We just wanted to see how things would go, and if this is a schedule that we can uphold, because apparently Kayla is done with this ish. Thank you, Ashley. Glad we're not murderers either. So happy.
If we walked around life and just be like, good for you. You're not a murderer. Like, just assume that everyone is like,
you get a badge.
Yeah, exactly. You get a badge.
You get a sticker.
Better we all be just to just to be like, you didn't murder anyone today. Good on you, and we just be proud of people.
Good job.
But I'm pretty sure we would all walk around a little bit better. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
guys,
that's
this was fun.
Our plan, and we'll send you off to another happy weekend. Be safe, be happy, don't murder anyone.
Be kind and pass it on, please.
Yeah,
pass
be kind. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Yeah. See ya.
Right, bye,
guys. That's right. High five. Congratulate everyone as you walk by.